particular time. Number one, the month of Rabiul Awal. Number two, are you listening to me in Egypt? Number two, the first Jummah in Rabiul Awal, not the second, is because they want to maximize the impact of this attack, this terrorist attack, maximize its impact. So as the days proceed now until the 12th of Rabiul Awal, the momentum will be building to a crescendo, that a wave of resentment will sweep the entire world of Sufis. And the Sufis are popular all over the world. You have Sufi movements all over the world. There's very great sympathy and support for Sufism around the world. Compared to the Salafi, I think the Sufis are far more numerous in number. But it is clear that as we now approach the 12th of Rabiul Awal, what is going to happen around the world is that there's going to be a build-up, increasing momentum, building to a crescendo of a wave of hostility against the Salafi, against the Wahhabi, against the ISIS and so on, lumping them all together, not remembering. I have many Salafis who are my students. Oh yes, many of them are my students. And so what we have now is that we are on the brink of a pit of fire, planned by those who want to divert our attention from something big that is coming. Yes, something big that is coming. Divert our attention with Sunni Shia civil war, with Sufi Salafi civil war. How do we respond? Answer: the Miladun Nabi and the other practices of the Sufis which are not based on the Sunnah should not be used to divide the people. Do not divide yourself from your Muslim brother on the basis of a religious practice which is not firmly built on the Sunnah. Do I need to repeat that to you? For those of you on this side who have on your boxing gloves, this Miladun Nabi, I have to also give a lecture for Miladun Nabi. It will be in the Endeavour Masjid. Endeavour Masjid close to Montrose on Jummah, next Jummah, the 1st of December, after Salatul Maghrib. And I intend to speak on the essential Sunnah, the essential Sunnah. So do not divide yourself from your Muslim brothers on the basis of religious practices which are not based on the Sunnah. And Miladun Nabi is not based on the Sunnah. Having the prayers for 40 days is not based on the Sunnah. No. If you divide yourself from your Muslim brothers on the basis of religious practices which are not based on the Sunnah, you are violating the command of Allah in the Quran, in which He has ordered you, وَأَتَسِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold on, all of you. Hold fast to the rope of Allah, which is the Quran, and the Sunnah of He who was sent to teach the Quran. Hold fast, all of you, to the rope of Allah. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And do not be disunited. Do I have to remind you of Allah's command in the Quran? Prohibiting you from dividing yourself from your brother Muslims? Do not do that. So this is how we respond to the Sufi Salafi civil war which is now coming. Do not divide yourself from your Muslim brothers on the basis of religious practices which are not based on the Sunnah. My teacher, Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari, rahimahullah, was a Sufi Sheikh. Have I ever hidden that from you? No, not at all. I am proud to have him as my teacher. I am honored to have him as my teacher. And I cherish the very dust on which he walked. Yes, that's the status of Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari, rahimahullah, who was a Sufi Sheikh of the Qadiriya order. And if anyone is annoyed over my praise for my teacher, then I don't care for your annoyance. Not at all. I don't care 2 peanuts for your annoyance. Not at all. You're not going to stop me from honoring my teacher. Not at all. Whatever be the price I have to pay, I'm prepared to pay for it. He was my teacher, and a greater teacher than any of your teachers that you have. And if Allah today has blessed me with whatever little knowledge I have, mashallah, mashallah, mashallah for that teacher who trained me. And he was a Sufi Sheikh. And I took the bay'ah with him at his hands to join the Sufi order, the Qadiriya order, in 1960, right here in Trinidad, when I was 18 years of age, at the Jama Masjid in San Fernando. But today I no longer identify myself as Sufi. No. And every single thing that I teach and every single thing that I write is based on the Quran and the Sunnah. I try never, never, never to step out of the Sunnah and on the Quran when I teach and when I write. Go and check my record and you'll see. So then why do I no longer identify myself as Sufi? Even though what I teach and what I write is the essence of Sufism, meaning al-ihsan. What is the reason that I no longer identify myself as a Sufi? But if you invite me to a Sufi zikr, Naqshbandi zikr, I'll come and I'll join you in the zikr. Yes, of course. If you have a Sufi gathering and you invite me, I'll come and I'll join you in your Sufi gathering. And if anyone is annoyed with me for that, I don't care 2 peanuts. No, I don't care 2 peanuts for your annoyance. There are many other scholars and teachers. Go find someone else. Leave me alone. I don't care for you. I don't need you if you're more learned than I am. Then go your way. If I'm wrong and you can correct me, yes, I must be humble enough to accept my mistakes. Otherwise, I'd be a fool. But simply being annoyed with me because a Sufi in a gathering invites me to join them in a zikr, and I go and I sit with them in the zikr, and you get annoyed with me for that? No, man, not at all. I don't care for your annoyance. So this is how we respond. And that is that we recognize that these religious practices are not based on the Sunnah. And as a consequence, I do not want to have to answer for them. I do not want to have to pick up any boxing gloves and wage any intellectual war to defend a religious practice which is not based on the Sunnah. And hence, I no longer identify myself publicly as Sufi. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. But other than that, what I teach and what I write is the essence of Sufism, the very essence. I don't call it Sufism. I call it al-ihsan, which is a term based in the Sunnah. Yes, al-ihsan. So this is the way I live. But if you have your Miladun Nabi program and you invite me, I will come. Yes. I will participate in it, yes, but I will not myself organize a Miladun Nabi function. Not at all. Why? Because I don't want to have to defend an institution which is not based on the Sunnah. How many times must I repeat that for you to understand? Is it so difficult to understand? What's wrong that you cannot understand it? It is not based on the Sunnah. But that does not mean that it is haram. It is not based on the sunnah, but that does not mean that there is evil in it. No, it is when something is not based on the sunnah and you want to insist that it is a part of religion. I don't want a part of that, because that is bid'ah and haram. When something is not based on the sunnah and you want to pick up boxing gloves to defend it and divide yourself from the Muslims, I don't want to be a part of that at all, at all, at all, at all, at all. I don't want to have to answer for that in the grave. No. Those who want to pick up their boxing gloves and fight battles and battles over things which are not based on the sunnah, let them go their way. But I'm not going to do that. So, Miladun Nabi and the Sufi practices, which are not based on the sunnah, I don't want to have to defend them, so I don't identify myself as a Sufi. But if you invite me to your zikr, I'll come and join you. And on the other hand, now you have those who their raison d'etre now is to pick up boxing gloves and sometimes pick up guns to wage war on these people who are celebrating Miladun Nabi. Oh, you are fools. I want to tell you straight to your face that you are fools, that you are dividing the ummah, and you're doing it in a destructive way over things which are not based on the sunnah. If it is not based on the sunnah, but they do not insist that it is a part of the deen, there's no need for you to fight a war with them. No. It is when they argue with you that this is a part of the religion, then you can say to them, this is bid'ah. So on the other side as well, if you are waging war against the Sufis because of religious practices which are not based on the sunnah, you are also guilty of dividing the Muslims. Wala tafarraku. Do not be disunited. Look at my way. I have good relations with the Sufis. They're annoyed that I don't describe myself. Warrenville, just hold on. And I have good relations with many Salafis. Many Salafis are my students. Yes, go ahead, Warrenville. Hello? Okay, it's gone. So now then, this is the this is the problem we now face in Egypt. Warrenville, yes, hello? Hello? Oh, we have a problem with the phone there. So we have...
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
My dear brother Imran Nazar.
Yes.
This is a call from Warrenville.
Yes.
And I'd like to say to the Muslim community that right now what is going on in the world is far more important, and what we have to deal with all these wars and what is going to take place and the nuclear war and things like that, than for people to put on boxing gloves and to deal with whether we are Sufism or Salafism or Wahhabism. And I mean, these are things that whether we believe in Salafism or Sufism is a question of our choice. And whether what type of zikr we believe in is our choice. And we shouldn't be judged based on that. We should leave that based on, Allah should judge us based on that.
Okay. Yes.
So, the world have far more important things. And for example, the coming of Dajjal and what are these European people trying to do to us, or these Americans trying to do to us, and the wars that they are trying to promote. So, it's why these little trivial things are getting to our iman and getting to us.
Yes, Warrenville, I'm very happy that you also hold the same view. Sucked into this civil war, Sufi, Salafi civil war, Shia, Sunni civil war, but rather we should be trying to build bridges between ourselves and build solidarity and unity with the ranks of the Muslims in conformity with the command of Allah in the Quran. وَاعْتَسِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold on to the book of Allah. Hold on to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And for things which...
we are falling into their hands, we are falling into their trap.
That's right. They're setting a trap for us in Egypt. And as the days approach now for the 12th of Rabiul Awal, what happened in Egypt is going to spread all over the world, and there'll be increasing hatred and hostility from both sides to each other. And we're on the brink of a pit of fire that is Sunni Shia civil war, and now Sufi Salafi civil war in the house of Islam. And these are essentially craftily designed diversions to divert our attention for something tremendously destructive,
exactly.
Which is around the corner.
Why doesn't we as Muslims open our eyes and see these things?
Well, I'm happy. I'm very happy that you're using the term open your eyes. Okay, we have a call from Canada. Can I take it, please? Thank you, Warrenville. Hello?
Hello, Sheikh Imran Hosein. May Allah bless you.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. My friend, I had a question. It's kind of a double question. I'll try and make it fast. It's about Surah Kaf in the Quran. Do you mind?
Yeah, speak a little slower. Yeah, go ahead. Surah Al-Kaf of the Quran.
Okay, so I'm going to read you my book, which is the Sahih International Quran.
Slower.
It's in English.
Speak a little slower for me. Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, and Allah says, and had you been present, you would see the sun when it rose, inclining away from their cave on the right. Yeah. And when it set, passing away from them on the left, while they were laying within an open space thereof, that was from the signs of Allah.
Right.
Him whom Allah guides are the rightly guided, but him who Allah leaves astray, never will we find for him a protecting guide.
Right, that's Surah Al-Kaf.
And you would think them awake while they were asleep, and we turn them to the right and we turn them to the left while their dog stretched his forelegs at the entrance.
Yes, this is Surah
Al-Kaf. Them, you would have turned from them in flight and been filled by them with terror. What does that mean?
Yeah, what's the question?
Well, when it says, if you had looked at them, you would have been turned from them in flight, you would have turned from them in flight and been filled with them by terror. Like they were asleep, but I'm just trying to figure out what Allah means by that.
Okay. All right. This this question is not pertaining to cryptocurrencies and so on, nor to the Sunni Shia or the Sufi Salafi civil war, but it pertains to Dajjal. Of course it does. It pertains to Dajjal. It is in Surah Al-Kaf of the Quran, so we can take a few minutes to try to explain to you. Surah Al-Kaf is one of my favorite surahs of the Quran. And these young men, and remember they were young, the Quran is directing attention in the end time to the strategic role to be played by the young. If you're young, I hope you're listening to me today. That these young men lived in a world which was essentially godless. That's right, essentially godless. هَؤُلَاءِ قَوْمٌ اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِهِ أَوْلِيَاءَ. Essentially godless, turning away from Allah, turning to other than Allah, turning to Parliament, for example. And in the process, they were committing shirk. And these young men did not go to sleep, eat biryani and then go to sleep and say, well, no, I can't do anything about that because if I do it, they're going to say I'm a terrorist, they're going to shut down my business, they're going to put my name on a no-fly list. No, these young men stood up and they proclaimed the truth in defiance of the world. That's what they did. That is the sunnah of the young in Akhirul Zaman. If it is right, stand up for it. And if it is wrong and evil and unjust and shirk, stand up against it. That is Allah's command in the Quran. It is Surah to Ali Imran. And Allah says, بَعَدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. He says, كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ. You are the best. the best community raised for the sake of mankind. How come? تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. Surah Ali Imran. Because you have faith in Allah, you act in this way. This is the proof that you have faith. Otherwise, all that you have inside of you is peanuts. That's all. Because you have faith in Allah, Amr bil Ma'ruf, when it is right, you stand up for it, regardless of the price you have to pay. And when it is wrong, and it is evil, and it is shirk, and it is zulm, you stand up against it. Amr bil Ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar. This is the Quran. And that's how those young men behave, and that's the way I want you to behave who are listening to me. I want you to be men and women with backbones, not those who will bend in servility and slavery before their masters, the slave masters who today rule the world. Allah didn't send Islam into the world to create mice. No. Allah sent Islam into the world to create men and women with courage and determination who would stand up and struggle that the truth might triumph over all rivals. These were the young men who behaved like that. And when you behave like that, they'll come against you. Life is not going to be difficult. It is so difficult that the Prophet said that holding on to Islam will be like holding on to hot coals. If you don't feel hot coals in your hand when you hold on to Islam, it's not Islam you're holding on to, something else. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so they had to flee. And they fled to a cave. They made hijrah. And we have to make hijrah as well. We have to flee. We have to disengage. We have to withdraw. I've been saying that all the time. This is Surah Al-Kahf. And when they fled to the cave, Allah put them to sleep. And they slept for 300 years. But while they were sleeping, this is the passage you just recited. While they were sleeping,
Yeah.
Allah caused their bodies to roll from left to right, right to left. Because the sunlight was entering the cave morning and evening. Morning and evening. So in the morning when the sunlight entered from this side, the bodies will roll towards the sunlight. And in the evening when the sunlight entered the cave from the other side, the bodies will roll to the other side. Why? Attraction to sunlight. And the sunlight is now transformed into energy. And that energy kept the vital organs alive. I think it's called photosynthesis and phototropism, if my scientific knowledge is still intact. And so the Quran is giving us a hint that in Akhirul Zaman, in the end times, you have to turn to solar energy. That with solar energy, you will be able to survive in the end times. If you were there and you saw their bodies rolling like this, you would have been terrified, says the Quran, and you would have fled in fright because the people are sleeping and yet their bodies are rolling. Now, where's the link with, oh my, it's very little time left. Where's the link with Dajjal? Here's the link with Dajjal. If they slept for 300 years and then woke up, then after 300 years, obviously, their beard will be as long as from Trinidad to Tobago. Huh? And their fingernails will be as long as from the IBN studio where I am to San Fernando where I live. Huh? But when they woke up and they asked each other, how long have we been here? They said maybe a day or a part of a day. So how come they didn't have eyes to see? Your fingernails are as long as from here to San Fernando, and your beard as long as Trinidad to Tobago, and you can't see that? The answer is, when they woke up, they were still the same age as when they went to sleep, even though 300 years had passed. So they didn't spend those 300 years in this world of space and time. They spend the 300 years in another world of space and time. A call from the United States, but you kindly have to wait for a minute, please. And then the fact is, in fact, they were in this world, not in another world, because morning and evening. So they were in this world of space and time. How do we resolve this contradiction, this paradox? Answer, they were in both worlds of space and time. This one and that one. Continuous movement back and forth, and that is Dajjal. Yes, United States. Hello? Yes?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Imran.
Yes?
Yeah, I'm from Minnesota.
We have only a minute left.
Okay, I wanted to ask you very quickly about Gog and Magog.
Okay.
As you know, the United States, the Western world, is led by the Zionists, and the Soviet Union was also led by the Zionists back then. Why does it seem like they have a Cold War and they seem to be in conflict with each other if both entities are controlled by the Zionists? And for example, in Afghanistan, as you know, they were fighting the Soviet Union, and it seems like the West was assisting the native Afghans, like they say, in fighting the Soviets. So
right,
that
okay.
didn't make quite sense to me.
Right, okay. We don't have the time to answer your question now because time is up, but I'll save your question for next week, inshallah, if you don't mind. The question pertains to God. We don't have the time to answer you today, all right? But I'll save your question for next week, inshallah. Before we end, I want to remind you, if you're in Trinidad, you can come and listen to me at the Endeavour Masjid in Chaguanas, in Montrose, on Jummah, the day of Jummah, Yawmul Jummah, Friday, the 1st of December, at the time of Salatul Maghrib. And I will be lecturing on the essential Sunnah, and I'll be very happy to meet with you there. I believe they're preparing dinner. I hope it's a nice pilau, inshallah. And I look forward, inshallah, to seeing you there, inshallah, next Jummah, next Friday. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.